The Galactic Empire did not believe in overreaction. They perfected it. The arrest of the human woman took place on Deck 12 of the dreadnought Imperial Spear, a vessel so large it had weather systems and its own minor religion among the janitorial staff. She was detained with all the pomp and weaponry normally reserved for planetary insurgents or unpaid space taxes, depending on which was deemed more serious that week. She didn't resist. 200 guards in power armor, 6 suppressor drones, and one very nervous lieutenant approached her diplomatic shuttle like it was ticking. She stepped out before they even knocked, calmly sipping something from a ceramic mug with "World's Okayest Officer" in blue cursive. She wore a crisp, navy blue uniform with just enough scuffs to imply action, but not enough to brag. No weapons, no augmentation implants, no visible threat beyond a stubborn cowlick and a kind of Midwestern stillness that confused aliens. Her name patch read, Harper J., her face read, pleasant but unimpressed. "Lieutenant Commander Jane Harper," said the lead officer, his voice modulated to sound deeper and more intimidating than his own species could naturally manage. "You are under arrest for violations of Section 14.9 of the Intergalactic Conduct Charter. Do you surrender?" She blinked. "You rehearsed that, didn't you?" The drone hovering behind him twitched, as if embarrassed. The officer cleared his throat. "Do you surrender?" Jane took a slow sip. "Of course. Be weird not to." The handcuffs clicked around her wrists seconds later, and she didn't flinch. Didn't argue. Just looked at the guard's armor and muttered, "Carbon weave plating? Fancy. Did someone think I might bite?" The officer stiffened, unsure if it was a joke. She was led through 4 hallways, up 2 gravity lifts, and into the holding block with a posture so relaxed it annoyed half the security team. The other half were just unsettled. "She hasn't blinked in like 3 minutes," one whispered. "She did. You just missed it," said another. "It was deliberate." The interrogation chamber resembled a minimalist dentist's office. Sterile, chrome, too bright. 2-way mirrors lined the wall, but Harper sat down at the table without being asked, folding her hands neatly. Her mug was gone now. She seemed to mourn that more than her freedom. Across the glass, Prosecutor Vree adjusted his collar gland. Vree was an ablari, a species that evolved from cave-dwelling venomous accountants, or so went the human jokes. He was 6 feet of sinewy green logic, with too many fingers and a tongue that made consonants optional. He despised humans for their chaos, and more specifically, for their idioms. He hated idioms. Like, off the record. What record? How could a statement physically remove itself from documentation? "Begin," he hissed, stepping into the room with a legal pad. "Real paper. A flex." "Lieutenant Commander," he said, eyes narrowing. "Do you know why you're here?" "I assume it's not for the pleasure of my company," she replied, smiling slightly. Vree didn't return it. "You stand accused of smuggling military-grade quantum disruptors into neutral territory. Also, tampering with Empire-controlled AI, bribing a dignitary, and the disappearance of Sub-Admiral Keldran." She nodded thoughtfully. "Busy week." Vree paused, confused. "You admit to it?" "No," she said. "I admit it's been a busy week." He leaned forward. "We have evidence." "Oh good. Always like a show and tell." He squinted. "Do you understand the severity of these charges?" Jane leaned back, just slightly. "I do. But you're missing a few. I jaywalked across a hover tram in Sector 6. Also, I brought a banana on board. Technically illegal in 3 systems." Vria's eye tendrils twitched. "This flippancy will not serve you." "I've found it serves me just fine," she said, voice warm. "Flips well, sears on both sides." The lights flickered, just once. Outside the chamber, a junior analyst named Torque turned to his superior. "Should we be worried?" "She's just a human," the superior grunted. "An Earth mid-ranker with delusions of charm. They all act like they're in a comedy holoshow. Give it a cycle, she'll crack." Inside, Vree attempted the pivot. "Some in our intelligence files claim you're known by another name. A code name. Baba Yaga. Jane raised an eyebrow. That's supposed to scare me? Is it not you who should be feared? Vree leaned in, smug. In human folklore, Baba Yaga is a myth, an old woman who lives in a walking house and eats people. I don't eat people, Jane replied. Cholesterol. You admit you are Baba Yaga. I didn't say that. Vree straightened. Then who is Baba Yaga? She smiled again. This time, it didn't reach her eyes. Fairy tales are how humans teach their kids to deal with monsters. The funny part is, sometimes, the monster in the story isn't the scary one. It's the kid who survives them. Vree paused, eyes narrowing. From the other side of the mirror, Torque frowned. She's calm. She's stalling, said the captain. Nothing more. But even he didn't believe it. The recording log would later show a 10-minute pause in conversation. Vree, seemingly disarmed by her lack of reaction, began listing procedures. Her rights. Upcoming tribunal hearings. Jane said little. Until the lights flickered again. This time, they didn't come back on. A hum filled the room. Subtle. Electric. The camera feed flickered twice, then cut to black. Backup systems kicked in immediately. She triggered something. Shouted a technician. Impossible, the security officer said. She's been isolated since capture. Unless she wanted to be captured, Torque muttered. Inside the room, Jane sipped the air like it was morning coffee. You should really get that wiring checked. Fire hazard. The security door hissed open. Too early, too slow. A guard rushed in. We've lost containment on cell deck 3. Vree stood. What? What do you mean? Jane rose with him, slow and fluid. Guess that's my cue. Sit down. I'm afraid your hospitality's expired. Another guard entered. Sir. Internal AI is glitching. Control systems are rerouting themselves. Jane took 2 steps toward the exit. No one stopped her. Stop her. Vree barked. But they didn't. Couldn't. Wouldn't. Jane looked back. Funny thing about humans. Everyone always underestimates the polite ones. Until they start rearranging your systems like it's a jigsaw puzzle. You're bluffing, Vree said, but it came out brittle. She stopped just at the door, eyes locking with his. You ever meet a chess player, Vree? What? Doesn't matter what pieces are on the board. If the player knows how to sacrifice the right pawn, they can still take your king in 4 moves. Then she was gone. 10 minutes later, Vree stood in front of the central command display. A dozen officers reported at once, system malfunctions, sensor blackouts, and a rogue data worm replicating through the fleet's communications grid. She's jamming us, shouted one. No, Torque whispered. She's mapping us. Like, she knew exactly where to go. What to say. What cables to cut. The Admiral's face blanched. She planned this. Deep inside the lower decks, Jane moved with the ease of someone walking through her childhood home. She touched nothing and changed everything. Rerouted power nodes. Left behind a pocket knife in an engine bay, perfectly placed to be found later, perfectly placed to raise questions. A camera caught a glimpse of her silhouette in the flickering dark. The internal AI tried to identify it. Match. 98.9%. High threat designation confirmed. Code. Alibaba YAGA. The guards watching it laughed uneasily. That can't be real. She's not, she's just. A pause. The screen glitched. Then, in bright human English. You invited her in. Back in the command room, chaos blossomed. She's gone dark. We've lost AI subroutines. Did anyone lock down the reactor core? No, we thought she was. Just a human, Torque whispered. Jane Harper sat in a crawlspace above maintenance deck 7, tying her hair back with a piece of discarded wiring. One hand pulled a crumbly protein bar from her boot. The other checked a tiny blinking device she'd pulled from the seat of the interrogation chair. Her own hidden data relay. She smiled at the blinking green light. One message received. Proceed to Phase 2. Empire's blind. Earth sends its regards. She whispered to herself, low and calm. Told him I wasn't the scary one. She took a bite of her protein bar, closed her eyes for a moment, then vanished into the ship's wiring like a ghost in a haunted house built for tyrants. The galaxy had made one mistake. They thought the storm was locked up. They didn't realize she was the storm. Bet you 50 credits she's just pacing in there, said Guard 14, peering at the monitor. His helmet was off, revealing a pasty, hairless face and an unfortunate mustache that resembled a drowned caterpillar. She hasn't moved for 6 hours, said Guard 12. Probably asleep. Humans sleep like 8 hours a day, right? Yeah, but only when they're not plotting galactic coups with paperclips and chewing gum. They chuckled. The footage showed Lieutenant Commander Jane Harper, sitting cross-legged on the holding cell floor. She looked perfectly peaceful. If anything, a little bored. A datapad sat untouched beside her, courtesy of a generous Empire entertainment policy for detainees. She'd spent most of the afternoon humming and occasionally asking the lights to dim by 17%. For ambience. Guard 14 leaned back. I mean, she's harmless. She said please when asking for water. She also winked at me, Guard 12 said. I didn't like it. It felt loaded. She's tiny. She's human. That shut them up. The Empire had plenty of experience with humans. Their diplomats were always jovial. Their traders were eccentric. Their officers were usually loud, insubordinate, and obsessed with food analogies. But this one? Jane Harper? She had not shouted, threatened, or whined. She had asked about the guard's family. She had complimented the efficiency of the intake forms. She had even organized the condiments in the cafeteria line by spiciness, for clarity. That made her suspicious. So they doubled the guards. Tripled the scans. Scanned her for hidden cybernetics 6 separate times. They didn't find the problem because they didn't understand the problem. Jane was the problem. In her cell, she quietly stretched, touched her toes, and cracked her knuckles one by one. The lights adjusted automatically to 17%. She smiled. Somewhere in the bowels of the ship, a maintenance subroutine triggered. Not a full alarm. Just a ping. One flicker. One pulse. Then she stood. The door didn't open. It didn't have to. Behind the wall panel, a little wire shorted with a pop. She reached over to the datapad, untouched for hours, and typed a single sequence. 14 characters. One press. The cell door slid open with a gentle hiss. Somewhere on Deck 3, a fire suppression unit activated unprompted. On Deck 5, gravity surged for half a second, enough to knock over 2 officers in the mess hall. On Deck 9, every terminal briefly displayed the weather in Kansas. She stepped out into the hallway, barefoot. The first guard she encountered didn't see her. He passed right by, muttering about malfunctioning climate controls. She waited until he was gone, then ducked into an empty closet. Inside, she stripped off the gray detainee jumpsuit and pulled on a uniform piece by piece from a stashed maintenance pack, one she'd hidden during her cooperative arrest. Basic overalls, neutral coloring. The kind of thing you could walk into a security hub wearing if you held a datapad and a clipboard. She grabbed both. Then she whistled as she walked. A wandering technician glanced up, registered her badge, and nodded. Jane nodded back. Morning. It's 1847. Time's relative. He didn't question it. She made her way to Terminal Junction C12, where the network split between life support, doors, and defense grid diagnostics. One location. One panel. She didn't need access codes. She had scripts. Not from Earth's Navy, but from backdoor tech dumped years ago by accidentally decommissioned human satellites. She uploaded it via a fingernail-sized chip sewn into the lining of her bra strap. The Empire's AI recognized it as a harmless maintenance routine. It began rewriting the firewalls within seconds. Jane sighed. You guys always lock the front door and leave the side window wide open. An alert blinked red for a nanosecond before turning green. She pressed a button. All over the ship, harmless things stopped working. Toilets. elevators, coffee dispensers. Then more important things. Communication channels rerouted. Sensors blinked out. The targeting grid lost half its alignment calibration. And no one noticed. Not at first. Back in the central control room, Torque frowned. We've got 6 maintenance reports across 5 decks. Captain Elzhar grunted. That's called Monday. But the reports are all tagged from last week. They were late. And they're all written in Terran Standard English. Elzhar paused. Then, locked down the prisoner. Torque paled. Sir, that's the thing. She's not in her cell. Elzhar stood. What? And we don't know where she is. On Deck 7, a team of engineers found their diagnostic system rewritten to display a children's cartoon featuring dancing frogs who recited Newtonian physics. One technician burst into tears. On Deck 5, a hallway played a distorted version of Stars and Stripes Forever every time someone opened a door. On Deck 4, a maintenance bot began sweeping in Morse code. Jane sat cross-legged in a ventilation hub, watching it all unfold on her stolen tablet. She sipped water from a reclaimed bottle. She was careful. Strategic. Never in one place too long. Never taking the same route twice. The key was to act like she belonged. People didn't question what they couldn't make sense of. Especially on ships where bureaucracy moved slower than light. She left little notes behind. On a mainframe panel, you missed a spot. On a weapons locker, nice try. Inside a surveillance drone's visual feed, a crude doodle of an owl labeled, "You're watching the wrong bird." Command was in shambles. Elzhar yelled across the deck. How is she still loose? She has no weapons, no team, no backup. She is the backup. Torque shouted back, panicked. Don't you get it? We didn't catch a soldier. We brought a saboteur into the heart of the ship. No one plans this kind of thing alone. Maybe you don't. Vree arrived 10 minutes later, sweaty and furious. His collar glands pulsed. She's still on board? He asked no one in particular. She's not on sensors, Elzhar said. She's in the sensors. What does that mean? It means she's rerouted so much internal code, we can't trust anything electronic. The cameras might be lying. Vree trembled. You told me she was a mid-ranking officer. She is, Elzhar said. Torque corrected. She's mid-ranking the same way a volcano is technically a hill before it erupts. By hour 6, Jane had disabled 12 automated turrets, rerouted oxygen to bypass unnecessary compartments, and left a small sachet of peppermint tea inside the Admiral's private lounge. She was efficient, unhurried, and impossibly thorough. Every move revealed another blind spot in the Empire's infallible systems. It wasn't just sabotage. It was anatomy. She was peeling them open like a fruit. The Empire had built their ship to withstand outside threats. Jane Harper was the inside threat. She approached a communications relay on Deck 2. One guard stood there, half asleep. She walked up casually. "Maintenance check," she said. He blinked. "I didn't get a..." She held up the clipboard. Form 62B-Tango, signed by Vree himself. He squinted. "Looks legit." She smiled, patted his shoulder, and walked past. 2 minutes later, every outgoing message from Imperial Spear translated itself into Pig Latin. An emergency meeting convened. Only the highest-ranking officials were invited. Vree paced. She's dismantling the ship without firing a shot. What is this? Terrorism. Torque shook his head. This is theater. She's performing for us. Elzhar growled. Why? I don't know. But humans don't do things like this by mistake. They make statements. They do things that send messages. Vree's eyes widened. Messages to who? In a small supply room, Jane tapped the final keystroke on her tablet. A single green dot blinked. She leaned back against the wall, arms crossed, exhaled. Showtime. The Empire's communications web stretched across 12 systems. It had never once failed. Until now. Every node blinked. Every ship felt it. For exactly 23 seconds, every Empire-connected vessel received the same signal. A flickering human face, eyes shadowed, speaking in clear, precise Earth standard. This was a warning shot. The face dissolved into static. Back on Imperial Spear, Vri collapsed into a chair. That wasn't an accident. Elzhar looked at Torque. How bad is it? Torque looked pale. She didn't disable us. She demonstrated how easily she could. She wants us to know this was practice. And now, she's going to vanish. And she did. Not into space. Not into death. Into their blind spots. She left a final note on the command console, scrawled in black ink. I was polite. That was your first mistake. It was signed. J. Harper. Baba Yaga. By the time the crew stabilized systems, rerouted communications, and confirmed their weapons were still offline, Harper was already 3 decks away, slipping into an engineering tube like smoke through a crack. The Empire had prepared for battle. But they had invited the wrong kind of war. Not fire and missiles. Not guns and fleets. They had invited the kind of war that smiled, said, please, and rewrote your universe from the inside out. And as Jane Harper disappeared into the ship's veins, the questions spread like virus code. If this was just one human, what happens when the rest show up? The Empire's command room was silent, humming only with the electric panic of too many people pretending not to be terrified. She's still on board? Admiral Gracht asked, voice low and hard like grinding steel. Torque, now inexplicably promoted to lead analyst after 3 superiors took stress leave, nodded. Confirmed. Internal sensors still ping her trace movements, sporadic, controlled. It's like she's walking circles around us. Then stop her, Gracht said. Seal the hatches. Lock the vents. Call the damn Talon. The room went colder. The Omega Talon wasn't standard security. They weren't standard anything. 5 elite bio-augmented enforcers, each from a different species, with a kill record that made their recruitment documents classified by default. They hadn't failed a mission in 47 cycles. Gracht opened the comms. Deploy. The comms officer hesitated. Sir, the Talon usually operate with full intelligence on their target. She's one woman, Gracht growled. They've dealt with worse. The comms officer pressed the button without further comment. On deck 6, red lights lit up like a beacon. Jane Harper, sipping from a borrowed juice pouch labeled Property of Supply Cadet Thrim, glanced upward as the alert flashed across the corridor ceiling. Finally, she muttered, stretching. They brought out the big toys. The Omega Talon didn't speak as they moved. They didn't need to. 5 shadows in unison. Heavy boots didn't echo. Silent pads insulated their steps. Each one had a role. Each one had a kill switch embedded under their skin in case they lost control. In the lead was Commander Vesk, Tharnic by birth, spined and war-scarred, with arms like coiled cables. He specialized in brutal close-quarters takedowns, and had once punched through a plasma door. Human target is contained aboard the Imperial Spear, he read off the mission brief. Designation: Harper Jane. Alias: Baba Yaga. Orders: non-lethal retrieval if possible. If possible, one of them muttered with a chuckle. They didn't laugh often. Jane stopped whistling when the lights dimmed. Her ears picked up the faint hum of the ship's ion suppressors powering up, dampening magnetic fields in the corridor. Standard prelude to tactical incursions. Oh. Hello, she whispered. She darted into the waste processing wing. Not her favorite, but tactically useful. Narrow walkways. Unpredictable gravity patches. It would slow them down. Make them think. That was all she needed. Time. The Omega Talon arrived at her last known location. They swept the hull, infrared vision slicing through the haze. The air was warmer than it should have been. A trick. Redirection through life support. Clever. There, whispered Vesk. A figure moved across the far end. They followed. Jane ducked, rolled, then vaulted over a rusted pipeline. She knocked over a container on purpose. It clattered and rolled, drawing them to the wrong angle. By the time they reached it, She'd rewired the waste processor's control panel to invert its local gravity pocket. Talon 3 stepped through and immediately slammed into the ceiling. She left a note duct-taped to the wall. "You really should have worn a helmet." Vesk narrowed his eyes. "She's playing." "No," said Talon 5, scanning the perimeter. "She's testing us." She was. They'd never hunted prey that left them puzzles. Each hallway they entered had something new: flickering lights synced to Morse code, audio files playing human children's songs backwards, a decoy heat signature that turned out to be a space heater wrapped in a blanket. "Every second we chase, she maps us deeper," said Talon 4. "We're being dissected." Vesk pressed on. "Then we cut back." The ambush came on deck 3. Jane had expected it. Encouraged it, even. She'd let her trail go obvious. Not sloppy, visible. She waited, crouched in the dark, behind the hydroponics bay. The Talon entered the chamber from 2 points. A classic pincer. "Gotcha," muttered Vesk. Then the sprinkler system exploded. A mix of nutrient mist and hyperallergenic pollen filled the room. Not fatal, just designed to confuse. The team's optics fogged. Filters clogged. Jane sprinted past Talon 2, tapped his shoulder mid-run, and whispered, "Warmer." He swung. Missed. She was gone again. In the command center, Vree watched footage with trembling hands. "She's mocking us. She's making them look incompetent." Torque didn't respond. He was analyzing a sequence Jane had left on a hack display. It looked like poetry at first. But it wasn't. It was a code. And not just any code. Torque recognized the pattern. It was old Earth military encryption, buried under layers of sarcasm and ASCII art. "She's broadcasting," he whispered. "To someone." Gracht heard him. "To who?" "I don't know. But it's not just sabotage anymore. She's staging a performance. And we're the audience." The Talon regrouped in the central stairwell. Bruised. Not broken. But breathing harder. "She's light on her feet," one said. "Too light." "She's pulling us," said another. "She's controlling the tempo." Vesk looked around. He understood now. This wasn't a target extraction. This was a lesson. "Change formation," he ordered. "No more pursuit. We stop. We wait." Jane froze behind a bulkhead as her tracker lit up. They'd stopped. All 5 of them. No motion. Smart. She respected that. She sat, cross-legged again, and opened the second juice pouch. This one was apple-flavored. "I love it when they adapt," she murmured. "It's cute." Then she looked down at the device she'd been shielding with her own body heat. A small, boxy transmitter. Not Empire tech. Earth-made. Smuggled in through a pocket universe embedded in her belt buckle. The transmitter blinked twice. Phase 2. Priming complete. Await signal. She closed it carefully. And smiled. Gracht convened with Vree and Torque in the emergency chamber. This time, even the Admiral's bravado had drained. "She is not an officer," Gracht said quietly. "She is a contagion." "She planned this entire thing," Vree agreed. "From arrest to now." Torque cleared his throat. I think she's waiting for us to make the next move. She wants something." "What?" "I don't know. But we gave her control of this ship, and she hasn't taken it. She's showing restraint." "Why?" Gracht demanded. Torque answered slowly. "Because we're the warning. Not the target." Meanwhile, the Talon started their own counter. They shut down the power to every corridor she'd used. Isolated ventilation shafts. Deactivated secondary systems. But none of them noticed the small changes Jane had already made, tiny rewrites in the auxiliary systems. Codes entered into non-critical files. She had pre-programmed their response into her plan. And now she knew exactly where they'd move next. She entered the cryo bay. Cold. Still. Sealed. She left them a message etched into the condensation on the nearest pod. "This is the part where you realize you're not hunting me." Vesk stood at the command deck, finally speaking to Grak directly. She's evading us because we assumed we were the bigger predator. Grak bristled. You are the most lethal unit we've ever. She's using our own tactics. Faster. Smarter. She's improvising within a plan that already anticipated our maneuvers. What are you saying? I'm saying. Vesk paused. She's letting us think we're adapting, but she's already moved on. Grak looked at Torque. Torque was pale again. She's not on this ship, he whispered. Everyone froze. She's under it. Engineering Sublevel 9 hadn't been used in years. Its records were redacted. Most officers assumed it was filled with old coolant pumps. It wasn't. Jane Harper stood at the core interface, hands in her pockets, looking at a glowing console that wasn't supposed to exist. This was the true center of Imperial Spear, a classified AI directive command node built to oversee fleet-wide synchronization in the event of civil war. She'd found it 3 days ago. Long before her arrest. Long before anyone even knew her name. She tapped the console. The system asked for a key phrase. She gave it one. Tell Mom I made it. In the command room, every screen froze. The Empire's emblem flickered, then dissolved. A human face appeared. Not Jane's. Someone else. Older. Calm. Wearing a navy blue uniform with stars that marked her as an Earth High Command Admiral. She spoke clearly. To the leadership of the Galactic Empire, she said. Consider this a rehearsal. You have just experienced what we call a single-operator deterrence simulation. Your systems were infiltrated by one operative. She has not killed a single crew member. She has not destroyed a single module. And yet, your flagship is now under our watch. Grak's fists clenched. The Admiral on screen continued. Let it be known, humanity seeks peace. But we prepare for predators. The screen cut out. In the cryo bay, the Talon found Jane's final signature on a wall. Not words. Just a chessboard. Mid-match. White Queen 4 moves from checkmate. Vesk stared at it. His comms buzzed. She's gone, said the ship's AI. No trace. No life signs. Nothing in the escape logs. Vesk exhaled. Slowly. She left before the game ended. Then he noticed something new. A second board. Next to the first. All the pieces reset. New game. Her challenge remained. On a civilian freighter 2 light-years away, Jane Harper sat in the corner, disguised as a transport liaison. She ate something called space chili and wiped her mouth with a napkin that read, "Have a spicy day." She pulled out her transmitter. One message blinked. Received. Proceed to Phase 3. She smiled. And for a moment, even the stars outside seemed to lean in, wondering what she'd do next. The Imperial Spear was silent. Not quiet, silent. The kind of silence that filled voids, that hovered heavy in the air like smoke before a fire. No klaxons, no alarms, not even the low whir of subsystems running routine checks. Just the empty hum of a dreadnought realizing it was no longer in control of itself. Admiral Grak stood in the center of the command bridge, eyes fixed on the blank tactical display. It hadn't refreshed in 15 minutes. That wasn't just a delay. That was a statement. Around him, officers worked in frantic, fearful silence. Torque hadn't spoken in nearly 10 minutes, fingers dancing over the console, trying to force an update. The problem wasn't the software, it was the permissions. They'd been revoked. By someone else. Grak's breathing deepened, jaw flexing. How much did she take? Torque didn't look up. Not take. Redirect. She never touched the databanks. She rerouted access. Explain. She didn't break our systems. She rerouted control authority through a ghost protocol, an Earth military AI branch I've never even seen documented. It doesn't overwrite. It burrows. We're still running, we just can't touch anything. She hijacked an Empire dreadnought, Grak muttered. With kindness, Torque said. With patience. And humor. Grak turned slowly. You find that amusing? Torque shook his head. I find it brilliant. A sound came then, small, soft, deliberate. The central display blinked. A pale blue circle rippled across its surface, and then a face appeared. Jane Harper. Her hair was tied back, her eyes calm, her expression as polite and unbothered as ever. She wasn't smiling. But she wasn't angry either. Her face carried the quiet confidence of someone standing exactly where she meant to be, at the precise moment she planned for. "Good evening," she said, like she was beginning a conference call. "I hope this isn't a bad time." Gract stepped forward. "Where are you?" "Somewhere warm," she replied. "You've committed an act of war." She tilted her head slightly. "Did I? Strange. I don't recall firing a weapon. Or hurting anyone. Did I forget something?" "Subverting a military flagship is not diplomacy. Neither is kidnapping a soldier from a peace envoy," she said, voice still gentle. "But we all make choices." "You planned this," Gract said. "From the beginning." Jane gave him a long look, as if trying to decide how much to say. Then she nodded. "Yes. I did. You let us capture you." "I insisted, actually." "Why?" Her eyes darkened, just slightly. "Because the Empire needed a message. One it wouldn't ignore. And you don't send a memo to tyrants. You send a whisper wrapped in fire." Vree stormed into the bridge, his robe torn, one eye bloodshot from lack of sleep. "What is she doing?" he hissed. "Why taunt us now?" "I'm not taunting," Jane said. "I'm warning. There's a difference." "You think this gives you leverage?" he sneered. "You think the Empire will bow to one human?" Jane's expression didn't change. But the lighting behind her did. The shadows shifted. The temperature on the bridge dropped a degree. Something in the background of her feed flickered. Silent, mechanical, watching. She spoke, voice lower now. "This isn't about one human. It never was." Gract stepped forward again. "Then what is this about?" "Balance," she said. "Consequences. History." She looked off screen, then back. "For centuries your empire has crushed border worlds, assimilated species, rewritten truths and planted flags where there were once families. And the rest of us watched. Earth watched. We filed reports. We sent envoys. We played diplomat." "You played spy," Vree snapped. "No," Jane said. "We played chess. And you just lost your queen." The screen blinked. A new feed appeared beside her. Outer space, taken from a distant vantage. Hundreds of Empire ships floated motionless. Their lights flickered. Their drives were cold. Torque gasped. "Sector Delta 5, those are the border fleets." "They were," Jane said. "Now they're listening. We fed the same relay loop through the code I installed. Right now they're watching this conversation." Gract's face drained of color. "You." "I didn't disable them," Jane said. "I just gave their ships a choice. An algorithm designed to unlock their full autonomy under one condition: if Central Command was compromised." "They won't betray the Empire," Gract said. "They're not betraying you," she replied. "They're realizing they don't need you." Vree spat. "You're bluffing." Torque's screen updated. Dozens of signals, independent acknowledgements, spreading across the network like wildfire. "They're not responding to central directives," Torque whispered. "They're reassigning themselves. They're going dark." "Choosing as she said," Jane echoed. "The fleets remember. The officers remember. You build from fear. Earth builds from patience. That's why we always win." "You're not at war with us," Vree said, almost pleading. "No," Jane agreed. "But you're at war with yourselves now. And we just made sure everyone saw the cracks." The feed changed again. A new figure. A woman, older, steel-gray uniform, her collar bearing 6 silver stars. She stood in front of a matte black Earth flag. "Admiral Nia Sond," Gract breathed. She nodded. "Empire Command. This is a formal declaration of strategic intervention. Earth is not at war with you. However, we recognize that unchecked empires rarely understand the language of restraint. So we offer you an example. Behind her, one by one, a series of galactic maps lit up. Red sectors bled into gray. The gray turned blue. Earth blue. We've negotiated new alliances with 9 of your former protectorates, she continued. We've opened wormholes you failed to detect. And yes, we sent one person aboard your flagship. Not to kill, but to expose. Your rule is fragile. Your command is splintering. And every eye in this galaxy just watched you lose your grip. Why? Gracht asked. Why provoke us? Because you provoked us first, Admiral San said. You touched one of ours. Now the rest of us are awake. Jane reappeared, now standing in what looked like the bridge of another ship. Not an Earth vessel. One of the Border Fleet frigates. Torque stared. She commandeered a fleet ship. She liberated it, San corrected. The crew invited her aboard. You made her famous, Admiral. You told them she was a monster. You gave them a name, Baba Yaga. You made them listen. Jane's voice returned. Calm, steady, terrifying. Funny thing about names,